what was that epiphany like? And can you kind of pinpoint that to a moment, or was it like multiple moments throughout like the years or time?
Yeah, so I forget who came up with this concept, but there's a concept in cult recovery called the broken shelf. And so it's like you get so many things on the shelf that eventually it breaks. So I think there were a number of moments that built up over time. I think the broken shelf moment for me was so I was starting at college, and I think meeting a lot of LGBTQ people made me realize some things about myself, and also made me realize that this homophobic stuff I had been taught just really didn't make any sense to me. So that was very close to breaking the shelf. And then the final shelf break was it was like starting a relationship with someone who wasn't part of the religion, and then being put in this position of like it's you have to pick between us or this person. I think that that is one of the worst double binds you can put someone in. I hope to never do that to my children, to put them in a bind of like choosing between their family of origin and their partner. So I was in that position, and then also started to unpack a lot of the purity culture stuff because I had an unplanned pregnancy, and it that was also broke that was like so 3 major broken shelves, the LGBTQ stuff and the being torn, like, you have to choose us or them, and then the, realizing how badly I had been let down by purity culture and having no sex ed. Um, and yeah, so the shelf broke, and I think all of my clients have different broken shelf moments.
Random, because I'm very visual. This is the way the tism works for me. So there's broken shelves. So then are you the repair person that helps them build more shelves? Like, what would be the therapist job with these broken shelves?
That's a good question. Wait, I do love metaphors, but you're right. It's like so maybe the I actually tend to use I don't know who came up with broken shelf. That's the more like accepted one. I like to use a closet, like
There you go. Yeah.
because
I know about
you're
the
right. What
closet.
happens after the shelf breaks? Yeah, so I'm like, I have a messy closet, but like once you put too much stuff in there, everything falls out. So then, and then you're like, what do I do with all this shit? So for me, I think that metaphor works better because then I can say like I'm helping people organize what fell out and like work through it and store it in a way that is better for their nervous system instead of just going like, what is all this shit that I've had to carry around in my closet? Whereas yeah, you're right. I don't know what would happen after the shelf breaks.
Because it breaks, and that's the moment where you're like, bruh, this is all fucked up. And then I guess it's up to them to realize that maybe they don't need the shelf. I don't know. That'd be an interesting thing to work through imagery wise with clients, especially some of my neurodivergent clients. And then you drop some other dimes later on about some metaphorical stuff, so we'll get to that later. I just wondered. And then the closet thing, that feels right too. Helping organize people's emotions, thoughts, feelings, unpacking some shit, right? And like sorting through all the memories, thoughts, emotions, trauma, and then getting like your bins and shit, sneakers over here, body parts over here. That's a joke. Sorry.
I just listened to your episode with the body parts in the freezer.
Oh my
With the
God.
Yeah.
wonderful forensic
Yeah.
psychologist.
Haji. Yeah. Lena Haji. Yeah.
Not today, so I'm like, of course,
Yeah.
that's the first thing that pops in my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. Big
Oh my
Macs.
God. That's the first thing. Jesus.
That's a good one.
I just listened to that like it was like 2 hours ago, so
Oh
it's like
my
fresh in my mind.
You're like,
God.
follow.
That pod was awesome. I was like kind of traumatized afterwards.
You brought in most of that shit up.
As soon as something gets in my mind, I'm like, I don't know how to compute this. I'm gonna make jokes.
Traumatized joke. All right.
Yeah, 100%. All right, Spence.
So we're talking about like these cults, these religious based cults and things like that. Do you have any advice for people who may be in the same situation as you are now, where they're kind of conflicted? Like, hey, I'm going more outside, I'm trying new things, but at the same time, I'm also getting pulled over here by my family slash this cult that's really trying to take over. What is your advice to those people who are kind of on the fringe of where they are as a person right now?
Well, definitely if it's possible. I know it's not always feasible, but to get some therapy, that would be a really great space to confidentially work through all of those feelings. I would say for people who maybe can't access therapy, reading some books, like reading about coercive control. I do like the Freedom of Mind website for learning more. And then just giving yourself as much privacy as possible. I think journaling, um, listening to music, just taking time where you can kind of turn down all that outside noise and get in touch with yourself. That can really help when you're feeling so torn between the two worlds.
The process, not only get, if you are getting external input, it's external input that's not from that culture or from that cultish or from that high control, but external stuff, but then also reflecting and like you said, more privacy. That way you're beginning to set boundaries. So it looks like that's what you're talking about too, is starting to find small ways to set boundaries before you tweak out the family. And now they're like punitive actions.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, like, there's even because even if you're like it's like even your thoughts are being controlled and the information you're consuming is being controlled and the emotions you're allowed to outwardly have are being controlled. I think any space where you can do any of that without someone supervising you is probably a good bet.
Do you feel like with your clients that the emotional control, how do I phrase this? I know with a lot of men, they're told to be a man, don't cry, don't show emotion. Right? It's a big thing. Do you also see the same type of vibe with also this other controlling type cultish thing is don't show emotions, don't talk back, is it's more like be seen but never heard, that type of vibe?
I see a lot of I feel like toxic positivity is an issue in general, but it's like that on like for pardon my phrasing, but like it's like that on steroids in culty environments because it's like if you're doing things right, then like you can control your emotions or and I'm being really broad here because sometimes it's a religious thing. Like if you're trusting God enough, then you'll feel happy and you won't have these negative emotions. And then sometimes it's just like the people in charge are wanting you to behave and look a certain way. Like they don't
Yes.
want to tolerate you looking even looking unhappy. Um, so sometimes it's religious based and sometimes it's just like the rules of belonging is that you must look like keep sweet, look happy, follow the rules.
I feel like it's a thing for projecting when they go into society too. The kids better look clean and nice because you're more like a jewelry
Mhm.
for the parents. Uh,
That's a good metaphor. Yes, you're like an accessory or like a symbol of how like great your parents are.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, accessory was the word I was looking for. I'm not smart enough to come up with those words. There's too many fucking syllables.
Accessory? How do you?
Accessory. I was just thinking watch, Rolex, motherfucker.
So I got Rolex.
I got it's fake. It's a Folex.
Anyway.
I'm so sorry.
So whatever, I want to also touch on so you are also a birth doula.
Let's talk about that.
What is that?
What'd that do?
How'd you get into that?
I was like, I need to update my website because I was like, I'm not currently doing doula work, but
That's
I
okay.
did it up until I had my most recent child, because it involves being on call and it is just too much for me to be on call when my sleep is already limited.
Fair.
But yeah, birth doula is basically like a lay person who accompanies someone through the birth process, like providing mental and emotional support. Um, and I just really liked that. And now I feel like I sort of have an outlet for that doing trauma therapy. It actually feels kind of similar because it's like you're helping people breathe deeply, you're helping with the mind body connection. But yeah, I would love to get back to doulaing someday, but for now, doesn't fit the schedule.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how'd you get into it? What made you want to start doing that in the first place? Because this is the first time I've actually known what a birth doula was.
I've
I
heard
had no idea.
I've heard of it. I just never met one in person.
I got into it because after like I had my first child and I had a really positive birth experience, and I wasn't sure if maybe I wanted to, this is when I was deciding like therapy or I was considering midwifery. Obviously I went in the therapy direction because I realized I like was more into the mental and emotional stuff than getting deep into science and biology, which you need to do more of if you're a midwife. So it was for that reason, because I think I just knew that I really wanted to help people and help them mentally and emotionally. So at first I was doing that through birth, and then I was like, actually, I want to actually get my graduate degree and do therapy.
I can hear one of my homegirls saying, "Why are you like this?" She said it to me because she's like, "I'm fucking weird and fucked up." So why are you, Eason? Why are you like this? Why are you a helper? Were you a helper when you were younger in the family, or you just wanted you just got this big old heart and you're like, I'm that person. I can do this. What's the vibe?
I think I've always been fascinated by people, and I also didn't get enough people growing up as isolated as I was.
Yeah.
Um, But I did always love, like, I actually was always an avid reader. I'm not saying my clients are like reading a book. I'm not saying my clients for entertainment, but like I've always been really into people and characters and like knowing why people do what they do.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Check out the full episode on our channel and anywhere you find podcasts. Also, remember to like and subscribe. Whoop whoop!